everybody. Welcome to the Artists Alley Aftermath podcasts for Boone Comic Con with Faith and Fandom. This is Hector, and thanks for taking time to join in with me as we go over the adventures in Boone. This is the second year of Boone Comic Con and my second year going. Boone Comic Con last year originally was scheduled for like October 4th or 5th or something like that, and it ended up being the same week of the catastrophic flood that destroyed a lot of western North Carolina, and that show would eventually get pushed back like 6 weeks and end up being in November. And so this was the return to that same show, and it's a different experience between October and November, for sure. Different vibe altogether. But let's jump into the whole travel and adventure everything. As if you listen to the last cons, Artist Alley Aftermath, you know that my car broke down on the way back from Myrtle Beach Comic Con, or from Boardwalk Comic Con, as it were. And I spent the bulk of a week trying to get my car repaired as I replaced a catalytic converter, which costs as much as a PlayStation 5. And got that ready. And so I got my car back on Thursday. And because the catalytic converter got replaced, you needed to drive it 50 to 100 miles before it would register that it was functional and that it was actually okay. So I got my car back on Thursday. My check engine light on my car did not go off until about 30 minutes before I left on Friday, which is not recommended for anxiety levels. But I did a little bit of podcasting Friday morning, loaded up the vehicle, and headed out pretty early, like 10 or 11, to head to Boone. And I made it only like an hour from here before my muggle job with the college I do design work for called me and needed me to redo a design because somebody missed some spelling stuff. Technically me, but also the people that are responsible for checking after me. So it was a collaborative fail. So I had to pull over in the side of a KFC in a sketchy neighborhood and fix a design for a newspaper, but it's cool. And the rest of the drive was pretty chill. Got all the way to maybe Winston-Salem or something along that line. Stopped at a Sheetz. I had made a good playlist for the trip because when you're looking at least 8 hours of road time, you want a good playlist. And one of the features that I do love about my car, I've only had this car since like March, so I'm still learning things, is that if you lock your car with your key in it, it will start unlocking itself and honk at you, which is beautiful. But that only works if you lock the doors by hitting the electronic buttons. Not if you lock the doors by literally pushing the little stopper down. And I had a full-blown panic attack at this gas station because I accidentally leaned on the door as I shut it and locked just the driver door and didn't realize it was just the driver door. So I started having this whole panic attack trying to find my wallet and my phone and my AAA card and all these things, and it was just the driver door locked. So I could just walk around and get my keys. But it was a good drive. Nice, and it was pretty. And one of the cool things is that in October in North Carolina, the further west you drive, the more you see fall in its full force. So 2 hours from my location, you can't really tell that it's fall. 3 hours, you can start to see the leaves changing. In 4 hours, it looks like, a Norman Rockwell / Thomas Kincaid / Nicholas Sparks cover of the majestic things. Because the fall leaf change in the mountains is a big deal. In fact, it brings a lot of tourism, which is something I found out because last year I didn't get a hotel in October in Boone because it ended up getting pushed back 6 weeks, and it was almost like Thanksgiving weekend. And so hotel prices were different. Whatever last year, it was the weekend that Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson. That's when it was. This year, because it's the first week in October and it was the leaf changers, second week in October, and it was leaf changes, hotel costs in Boone almost tripled. The same hotel that I paid $100 and maybe $20 for last year cost $400, which I'm just not on that budget. It's the end of my con year. I've spent all the dollars that I can spend on faith and fandom, and I was just not on that life of spending $400 for a hotel room in the city. So I ended up getting a ski chalet slash like mountain community house overlooking a lake. Technically it was fancier but not fancier, but it was affordable. It was like $100 some rather than $400, but it was in a little ski chalet place that overlooked a lake, and it was a cabin. So it was cool. But that was a weird booking to actually book like a ski chalet on hotels.com. But whatever. The drive was good. Nothing really catastrophic or bad about it. In full honesty, every passing mile, I was waiting for my check engine light to pop back on. But gratefully, it didn't. And just listened to the bops and made the 4-hour drive and appreciated the nature of it all. I got to the Watauga Convention and Event Center place, where the Comic Con is held. And if you listened last year, or you go back and listen to the Boone from 2024, this Comic Con takes place at a fitness center. Meaning when you drive up to this place, you can see water slides, you can see tennis courts and pickleball courts and basketball things. And one of the unique things about this venue is the fact that there is a walking track that walks on the second floor overlooking the space that is the convention center space. So if somebody in the fitness center is walking laps, they're on a level above you looking down at your booth, which is its own weird, like, you're not used to having to look up and on your left or whatever for people eyeballing you, but there they are. And in doing this show, that was an interesting thing last year. I will say this out the gate, it was much quieter this year than last year. Last year, the basketball was really loud. There's a lot of screaming and clapping and stuff. This year, it was much quieter. You could still hear people fitnessing, but not like aggressively fitnessing. And so loaded up, did the things. Everybody was loading up about the time that I was getting there because there's a narrow load-in window because of how the venue is. So I want to say it was from like 4 to 7 is the load-in time. And I got there not long after that, like maybe 4:15 to 4:30 at the latest. And it took me the entire time to get all set up and ready and all that jazz. But the first thing that happened when I walked in, the showrunner and said, "And what's your name? Or what's your booth?" And I said, "Faith and Fandom." And he stopped me and said, "Yes. I wanted to thank you for your podcast." Now, as you're sitting here listening to me review a Comic-Con, you understand that I'm pretty genuine and share a lot of things. And I don't normally expect showrunners to be listening to my podcast. I just don't. I know that's always a possibility, but I don't expect it. But he said, "I wanted to thank you for your podcast. You said some very constructive things, but also a lot of really encouraging things and very flattering things or nice things." And like my first thought was, oh no, did I say something bad? And I get it. if you're recording things through the internet, it's for the whole internet to hear. And I'm generally not a negative person, so I don't think I'm like, but I honestly, in that moment of like, what did I say? It reminded me of the moment with Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog when he says, I have to be more careful about what I say here. Apparently the police are some of our viewers. But I was just like, oh man, I'm hopeful / glad I didn't say anything negative, because like the showrunners are actually listening. But he talked to me a little bit more because I said, oh no, I hope I didn't say anything bad. And he's like, no, he said, you said a couple of constructive things. And it was that like, oh man, there's an audience. Because a lot of times I'm sitting at my desk like I am now at late hours, half awake, rambling on about what's in my mind. So I can kind of like cross it off my list and move on to the next event. I don't always put full perception filters on these things. But honesty and transparency is what we're here for. So there you go. But it was an interesting thing to know out the gate that this dude's actually listening to the podcast. So I'm going to be honest regardless. But it was okie dokie. Let me be on my P's and Q's this whole weekend. That was just a neat way to start things out. As I went on, I sat up, helping my friend that was in the booth next to me do some like picking of what goes where, and just kind of sat up and did the things. And this was an 8-foot space, which gave me more room to put things out and to kind of put stuff on display. And yeah, that was basically it. I spent the whole 2.5 hours setting up, and literally walked out the door right when they were about to tell us to get out. And as I went out, was gonna look for somewhere to eat and head back to my ski chalet. I'm just gonna see how many words I can say chalet in this time. But I hadn't actually been to the chalet yet. My first time was going to be after I'd finished setting up. So I figured I'll go check us out, because technically where I was staying was in Blowing Rock, but it really was more like Boone / Blowing Rock. It was somewhere in the middle, which is only like 4 to 5 miles difference, but $300 difference in prices. And I told the showrunner, I was like, yeah, man, hotel costs. And he said, that's the difference between October and November. It's the people paying to come see the leaves change in Boone, which is bananas. So I was driving back, and as I was driving back, it was starting, the sun was getting pretty setish. It wasn't fully dark, but it was getting dark. And as I rounded a corner, I saw a whole bunch of lights up a mountain, and I realized I was passing Tweetsie Railroad. Now, Tweetsie Railroad is something I've heard about my entire life. Never seen it, never been to it, never did it. And my daughter went to some like cowboy shootout at Tweetsie Railroad over the summer, but I'd never been. And I got to the cabin, looked around, checked in, did all the things, and started looking around. And like I just kept migrating back to the Tweetsie Railroad is just down the street. Tweetsie Railroad is 3 miles down the street. So I looked it up, and there was a haunted train ride and some haunted houses and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to be this close to this thing. Like, this is a 4-hour destination. I don't have plans tonight. I need to go to Tweetsie Railroad. So I went to this Tweetsie Railroad haunted house, train ride thing. And a walk in it is very much like a Carowinds type downtown cowboy vibe. There are people dressed in costumes dancing. Like there was a Dracula and a Sasquatch in a tuxedo. All this stuff happening. And there was like face paint. And it was very much between a Universal Studios to a State Fair vibe. The first thing I heard when I pulled up was chainsaws and people screaming. So you know it's a party. But I got the ticket for the last train of the night because I was not planning this, and it was the 10:30 showing of this train ride. So first thing I went and did a haunted house. When it was cute. I mean, it was good. The people volunteering and working in it did a good job. The lady that was doing the announcements at the front was honestly the best part of the haunted house. And then walked around and checked out stuff, looked for food, got some concessions, went to the place where the chainsaws were chasing people, but I didn't really have enough time to do that and do like fully experience that and get in line for the train because it was a quick turnaround. But it was a neat vibe. It was a cool experience just watching everybody do their thing. The train had a giant skull face and steam obviously shot out of it, but then at certain points flames would shoot out of the top of the train. And like every time the train took off, it played Crazy Train by Ozzy. And then when you're on it, you would hear an actual original song called Ghost Train, and they would do that. The actual Ghost Train ride was about 25 minutes long, and it took you through the woods, up the mountains, and everything else. And there was dramatic, goofy acting on the TVs, and people walking up and down the aisles of the open train scaring you. And sometimes people literally climbed over the sides of the train as it was moving to scare people. And it would stop every little junction and have like a zombie shootout or apocalypse or something else. And at one point, the Monster Mash played and all the monsters and zombies started dancing. I mean, it was that kind of vibe. But then they literally started shooting rockets and fireworks at the train, where it was hitting the hillside right before the train, but it was coming directly at the train. And the amount of explosions and mortars was ridiculous. It was a fun experience. My kids have wanted to go to the Christmas thing that happens there for a long time, so that might be something I consider. But it was a good experience. I ate some concessions food and went back to my little chalet and peaced out. Got up really early the next morning. Oh, by the way, I took a walk around the lake at the chalet, and there's a Harry Potter themed guest house, like a club entertainment place, but it's very poorly painted Harry Potter stuff. Like, I was like, is that supposed to be a badger? I don't know. But rested as much as I could. It was not a good night's sleep, and I can't pinpoint why, but it was just not. Then got up early, packed up, got ready for the event. One of the bonuses, I'm going to start off with some praises for the folks who run Boone, and they also do Wilkesboro, is, I want to say, are they Adventura? Is that their company? I mix up companies. I know faces. But they always have good pastries and coffee at the beginning of show load-ins. So I had like a killer Danish and some coffee, and honestly, it's worth getting there early to set up just to get a pastry, because they get banger stuff. And there aren't many shows that just take care of the artists and vendors in terms of food. You might get some Dunkin' and coffee at GalaxyCon, but past that, a lot of places don't even do anything for folks in that nature, and they make sure, and they don't just get stuff, they get good stuff. So I sat like a happy little man with my freshly acquired Danish and my booth as it was all set up. And then when it was all set up and done and everything was go, I had my booth neighbor take a photo of me. Now, we're going to pause and we're going to revisit that photo that was taken at the end of this. And it's important. It's just bananas. But I went around and I checked the booths, and I ended up buying a couple Pokemon figures from a vendor that was at the end of my row. I got a Melmetal and a Solgaleo, which are Pokemon I don't normally see a lot of figures of, or they're not great figures. I got some stickers. And I also got like some stuff just for friends back home. Walked around, and then one of the things I noticed is that at one of the booths at the back, there's a booth that had uh, just random stuff like merch, but they had a table, and this table had Bibles, New Testaments, crosses, and Christian literature and stuff. So I went back to look at the photo. There are several prayer journals, Bibles, pins, bracelets, crosses, looks like erasers and stuff like that. And this dude just has this table full of stuff sitting out at the edge of his booth. Now, that's wonderful. Like, I get that he's not like selling religious items or Jesus stuff, but he's just got that out there, and that's bold. And I appreciate the fact that this is available at this show. I also think I saw something similar at the Wilkesboro show I did. And that's just really cool that that dude had that out there. And so I ran back to my booth and I scrounged through my black box that has my comic books in it, because at GalaxyCon, folks gave me like a girthy amount of the little Jesus figures. And I'm not anti little Jesus figure. I think some of them are paler than they should be. But I like I want to be cautious with putting those out in terms of like, I don't know. I'm cautious with them. Like, I'll give them to people that I know will like them, but I don't want it to be like off-putting to the people that I'm trying to connect with in other ways. But I grabbed all of my little Jesus figures that were in my comic book box, and I said, "Hey, man, would you like these little Jesuses to give out with the rest of your stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's great." And I was like, I told him I appreciated him doing that, and we had a good conversation. And yeah, he came by the booth later and wanted to buy a shirt, and I just tried to give him the shirt, out of appreciation for what he's doing. And he wouldn't have it, but it's whatever. People be peopling. And show kicked off. I worked on some art and did sketches. Right out the gate, early on, I think I had just put pencil down to one sketch, and a young lady commissioned me a sketch. Or she commissioned a sketch for me to do, and I did not recognize what it was or anything. I'm trying to find a photo of what it was, but I might have deleted it. But she commissioned this sketch, and it was a anime young lady in a bathing suit with a t-shirt cover, wearing a bucket hat, and there was some purple and orange in her hair. I don't know who it was, but I did my very best to do this. And my commissions for my little sketch cards are only $2, and so she gave me $4, and she's like, "Here's a tip." And I was like, "Thanks, that was cool." But the show was good. Had good interactions with people, good conversations across the board. And let's see. Oh, one thing about the setup the night before, I just opened my notes because I was rambling. There was random ska playing across the room. I don't know who was playing ska. One of the other vendors was playing ska, but every time I'd hear the trumpets, I'd like the Five Iron Frenzy Supertones nerd in me would like perk up. Friday was also the start of a Pokemon Fall event, which was not a great time for me because I was going to kill my phone battery trying to get Flapple candy. But yeah, this was also, this was a show that was a little bit thick on celebrity talent to be a smaller show of its stature. The Karen, who's Batgirl, the Bronze Age Batgirl, was there. Eddie, who is the dude from Grease, who's also Dexter Laboratories' enemy, he was across from me in Greensboro. And he's like, "Hey," and his handler came up to me and said, "I've seen you at a show recently. Where was it?" And I said, "Greensboro." And he says, "Yeah." And he started talking about some negative experiences he had with people at that show, not the showrunners or anything, but and so he was just talking about that, and he was asking me about different stuff, but it was pretty cool. But they had those two, plus Vladimir Koloff, an old WWF wrestler. There's like a chunky amount of like celebrities at this, which was pretty cool. One thing as well, as the show was getting going, the coffee pot ran dry pretty quickly, and the showrunner said, "I'm going to make more coffee." Now, the fact that the dude's running a show and took the time to make coffee just because he saw it was empty, was, it's a good model right there. Now, fast forward like 5 hours into the show, I asked him, "Hey, is your coffee pot still plugged in?" And I said, "Look, I will pay you for a cup of coffee," because there's no coffee to be purchased. The only thing beverage wise to be purchased was lemonade from a fresh squeezed lemonade person. I was like, "I would love some coffee," and he plugged his coffee pot back in and made me a cup of coffee, or let me get coffee, which was wonderful. Boo with Chris. I don't know what that is. No, one of the first things that happened early on in the show was a couple kids came by, and I did the thing of like, "Hey, can I give your kids some Pokemon cards? Let them roll the dice." And one of them got a nat 20. And a mom said, "You made their entire show already and made their day," and it was pretty great. Also, two kids got lost at the show. Now, keep in mind, this is about the size of a gymnasium, but if you're a short person, you can't see over everything. And two kids got lost, and these two kids went up to Vladimir Koloff, the wrestler, and said that they were lost. So Vladimir Koloff got up and started yelling for their dad. And I don't know about you, but when you get called out publicly for not keeping an eye on your kids by a wrestler, it's a tough day. It was a tough day, and he started going hard on it the longer it went on. Yeah. Another cool thing that this show does is, because there's a local pizza place there that's pretty great. I believe it's Capone's Pizza. Because this show does what it does, in the form you fill out when you book your table, you choose if you would like a slice of pizza, cheese, pepperoni, or whatever. And you get a free slice of pizza, or you can pay and get a little extra. But then they have the volunteers box up individual slices and bring them to your booth. So like right around lunchtime, you don't even have to get up. There's just going to be pizza magically dropped off of your booth, which is pretty amazing. When I went to go ask for coffee, the showrunner was at Batgirl's table, and she took the time to say, I told him that I was her first booth neighbor, and she just went on to say that we have a special connection because that she looked at being next to my booth at her very first show as like a sign from God that she was in the right place and doing the right thing, which was pretty cool. The show went on, good connections. This was another show, and this is no complaint to the show, but this was another show where I didn't sell books. I sold shirts. I sold stickers. I sold sketch cards. I didn't sell any books. I came close. Like a lady thought about it, then changed her mind. But I didn't sell any books, which was, it's kind of weird, but it's okay. Also, the showrunners walked around with like snack carts, about 2 or 3 or whatever, giving bottles of water and snacks, and even to the point of like the volunteers would come around to see if we needed bathroom breaks. Because I was at the booth by myself, and so volunteers came around to see even if we just needed to go to the bathroom, which was, again, a cool thing. It was a good show overall. I got to talk to my friend Joe. I got to see different people and, connect with people I haven't seen in a while. One cool thing was there was a dude that had D20 dice in a gumball machine for 25 cents. And so I just walked up to him at the end of the show. I was like, "Sir, I would like $5 worth of D20s." And I bought myself 20 D20s for $5 just to give to people because they're cool. Because you never know when you need dice. Show ended. Everything was helpful. It was a good experience. I had good conversations with people. And then I started my pack up process and loading up. And I'll say this, there's nothing quite like the sunset coming off from behind you over the mountains. I took a picture on, it might be on the Faith and Fandom page. It might just be on my personal page. But either way, I took a picture of the sunset coming over the mountains, and it was gorgeous. Really love seeing that. Hit up the 7 Brew on the way there and the way back, by the way, because coffee is wonderful. But yeah, I had good interactions with the guy with the Bibles. I had good conversations with people overall. There was a dope Freeran cosplayer, and Marcel from Delicious in Dungeon. Both of those were wonderful. There was a really cool lady dressed as Sanji from One Piece. That was neat, really neat as well. I was doing my Inktobers, and I did a Fat Gum for Heavy. I did a confused Grim Reaper for Sting, because Oh Death, Where's Your Sting? Sunset picture is on the Faith and Fandom page as well. And I did a Kiki's Delivery Service for Sweep. Overall, it was a good show. It was a good experience. I did get stuck in traffic on the way back around Greensboro. But it was good. It was good overall. No honest complaints about how things went. Yeah, I would gladly do these shows anytime. I will say that it is far. 4 hours for a show one way is a girthy amount of travel, but honestly, it's not a bad experience in doing so. Oh, and one neat thing too is, I have not. So with my Patreon supporters, there's a level of Patreon support where people are basically sponsoring the booth itself. And we call them our, what do we call them? Con conquerors. And so I have a handful of them who are sponsoring the booth on a bigger level. And I haven't reprinted the sign since one of my friends, Jackie Kraft, started sponsoring the booth. So, but I did have a collectible cosplay baseball card of her in my lunchbox, so I taped that to her sign along with the rest of the Patreon supporters. So back to the picture I previously mentioned. My normal routine for when I set up the day before a show is I'll post a photo of the booth once it's set up, because it changes every time. And I usually post that the day before if I'm setting up the day before. And if I do that on Saturday or whenever the show starts, I usually post one photo of me with the booth just to say, hey, things are getting started. And then when the show's over, I'll post my photos from the day of cosplayers or what art I've been working on or people that I've met. That's usually just my rhythm. And 9 times out of 10, the responses are, kind of minimal. If you follow my Facebook or Instagram, usually I have a lot more reach than I have response. My Instagram says that I have roughly 38,000 people interacting with my Instagram on a monthly basis. But my posts might get 10 to 15 likes sometimes. So it's fickle. Same thing with Facebook. On average, I'll get 10 to 30 reactions per post, maybe. Something crazy would be 100. Really crazy, I think I posted a meme from Demon Slayer the other day that got 190, and I was 190 likes, and I'm like, wow. So Saturday morning of Boone, I just eaten my delicious Danish and all that jazz, and I asked my booth neighbor to take a photo of me just at the booth. I didn't put a cool caption or anything. I just put Showtime and tagged the location that I was at, which was the Watauga Event Recreation Center. And on Sunday, didn't really have a response or anything. But then on Monday morning, it got up to 500 likes on that one photo of me. And I'm like, what on earth is happening? And then the day kept going. And I want to say by the end of Monday, it was over 1,000 likes. By the end of Tuesday, it was at 2,500 and growing. And I gained at least, last time I checked, 600 new Facebook followers. And I have no idea what's going on, like whatsoever. Now, out of the 2,500 some likes, I got like 77 comments. Like 2,000 of them are like likes, or sorry, 2,000 are likes, like 500 are loves. There's a couple wows, 3 dudes mocking slash laughing, and 1 dude that resulted to body shaming, and like picking on my appearance. But that's whatever. And so I don't know why on earth it popped off the way it did, but it's absolutely bananas and just kind of crazily the most organically viral thing. And it's just the photo I took of me at the booth at Boone Comic Con. And so that's weird. I'm grateful that, it puts, the message out there right now. There's a inbox message waiting for me that I looked just at the notification of a pastor wanting to know what this is because he's interested, and several other people have invited me to shows like into Tulsa and Texas and all sorts of other places. SueCon, or SuperCon, like Sioux, like Native American. Like there's all these people saying, "Hey, come here," and it all really just popped off because of the photo I took at Boone. So absolutely wild the way God shows up and does things in times you don't necessarily expect. Just in posting a single photo of the booth just really set it off for people. And I don't know why. It's weird. But just wanted to share that part too. But that being said, I want to thank our Patreon supporters for doing all that you do, for helping make all of this possible. Because, like, 4 hours of travel, the booth, the hotel, even the cheapest hotel in the region is still not something I'm going to generate right back as a weekend doing this. It's just not. But I was able to be there, be encouragement, have good conversations, be light salt, and just to have good connections with people because of God's goodness and the fact that our Patreon supporters do what they do. So I want to take a moment to thank them. Jess Luttrell, who's Cosplay for Christ, Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Miss Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Rebecca Godlove, Patrick Gale, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for supporting and the amazing ways that you do. This is technically my next to last con for the year. I will be doing Geek Church at Fayetteville Comic Con on Sunday. But I won't be vending because I've got a wedding this weekend. And then I will be at Roco Comic Con in Reidsville, North Carolina on November 22nd. I'll also be at the Camp Grace Jamboree on November 15th. It's like a worship vendor outdoor event thing. But yeah. I'll be at the Jamboree on the 15th. Yeah. So thank y'all for taking time to listen, and I hope to see you all at a con real soon.